I started seeing one of the school therapists, and that was helpful in the sense that it was like talk therapy, and it didn't really address my OCD, but doing the talk therapy was helpful for talking about like past traumas in my childhood. Like I think there was a place for that. I really needed to like talk about a lot of that and cry a lot and let all that out. And so I think that part actually was therapeutic, but I still didn't get proper treatment or learn any skills. Um, I do remember actually going to they suggested a mindfulness workshop, but um, I guess I didn't get either enough information or it was just all so overwhelming. I couldn't really use the tools that I learned in that workshop at all.
Yeah, so two things that I want to comment on, thank you for bringing them both up, is that it's very true that you could have something that traumatic that happened in your childhood, but just because something did or didn't happen in your childhood doesn't mean that's what creates OCD. So you're a great example of having a biological vulnerability to have OCD, and then also some challenging and traumatic things happen to you. So good awareness that it's probably at some point it was helpful to talk those things through. For some people, actually, when anxiety is hard to tolerate, all other affects are also hard to tolerate. So it can be really hard to talk about really challenging things while you're currently experiencing severe anxiety or OCD. In your case, it sounds like you were able to talk about those more challenging things, but it doesn't mean that your intrusive thoughts um, got any treatment. So that's a great point. The other thing that you're just commenting on is a lot of people say, why not just use mindfulness if you're experiencing anxiety or OCD? And your point around when you're having so much thought action fusion. So having a thought feels like it's happening, and then the urge to do something to try to make it go away is very um, urgent and intense. It's really hard to stay with your thoughts at that point. And so sometimes we've got to do something um, more, or actually, the treatment is that we do something that's more aggressive than mindfulness. So we go towards it even more through exposure so that eventually mindfulness can be one of the tools or techniques that we use to maintain your progress. So great point that it's not that those skills aren't helpful, but sometimes when you're experiencing severe OCD, you just can't even access those skills. What happened from there?
Um, from there, I continued to see different therapists, and um, none of them were that helpful. Um, and
Do you
so
remember
that,
why? Do
yeah,
you remember why?
mostly because they were just doing what I would call talk therapy. I don't really know what it's called, but none of them were able to recognize that I had OCD. So each new therapist I went to, I would have to talk about all my childhood again, and like it was helpful at the beginning, but after a while, I was like talking about it over and over again with new people is just not helpful. So yeah, my intrusive thoughts and anxiety weren't being treated at all. So that continued. So it started when I was 18, and I kept going to see different people, and it would kind of, my OCD did get a little bit better in my second year of university, um, which I think was just due to some different like lifestyle choices that I made. And um, yeah, it's hard to say what it was, but I was just becoming a bit more happy, I guess. And so that kind of helped the intrusive thoughts. But then of course, it did come back. And
Yeah, it sounds like your body wasn't as sensitized, but yeah, you still got sensitized at some point, and then your intrusive thoughts would come back.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was kind of coming and going throughout those years. And then when I was 24, I saw somebody who finally recognized that I had OCD, and I got the diagnosis.